This is the tale of the adventure I shared yesterday with the woman I live with, / my best friend in the whole world, Kay.
Hello.
Thanks, Kay. First, for those new to the situation, or people with really bad memories, let's recap what happened. On Saturday, Kay slipped on the steps of our front porch, fell on her wrist, and shattered it. I took her to the hospital, she had x-rays, they said she would need surgery on Monday. And that concludes today's recap. So yesterday morning, I woke up early, got packed up, I met Kay in the van, and we set out on our little road trip. To, of course, go to a city nearly an hour away to have surgery performed on her broken arm / wrist. And of course, because her arm was broken, she was wearing a temporary splint, and therefore could not drive. Which I didn't mind. I like driving, it was fun. And to be honest, the drive was absolutely beautiful. One would even say it was stunning. The weather was just so gorgeous yesterday. The way the sun was beaming down on the road, reflecting the perfectly blue sky. The way the trees danced in the wind as it breezed by the mellow forest I drove along. Pastures of green were exemplified by pure beauty as rainbows were sprouting from their core. Butterflies and hummingbirds flew alongside my vehicle, whispering sweet nothings into my ear through my open window. Luckily, I was able to grab my camera and I got some amazing footage of it. Take a look. Some other beautiful, noteworthy things we saw on the trip there include a truck, this awesome bus, the most amazing telephone poles, and at one point I saw the coolest tree I had ever seen in my life. I could not believe it. I kept trying to show Kay, she couldn't see it, so I grabbed my camera and I filmed it. Check it out, it is an amazing tree. Just wow. You saw it, right? Anyway, eventually we made it there and got to the hospital. So we go inside, we find the doctor's office, they tell us to sit down and wait, and so we do. And when they said wait, they really meant wait. And I'm thinking 5, maybe 10 minutes, but nope. We had to wait 1 hour before we were finally called in to see the doctor. And just to be clear, we didn't really know what to be expecting. We knew that they were gonna set her bone straight and possibly put a block and/or a pin inside of it. Whatever a block is, by the way. I remember the doctor said that, but he didn't explain what it was. But we didn't know if he was gonna do it in his office, or maybe in a separate room, or an emergency, because the original doctor said you will meet another doctor in this other city in emergency at 9:30 a.m. So now here we are sitting in a doctor's office within a hospital at 10:37 a.m. and the receptionist has just finally come out and is calling us into the doctor's office. To say the least, with our lack of expectations, we were very surprised to find out what actually did end up happening in the doctor's office. We go into the doctor's office, and of course I go with Kay because I'm her best friend in the whole world. And I didn't just go to drive her, I went there to support her and help her in any way she needed it. So we go in, we sit down, we meet the doctor. He looks over at a screen close by with her x-rays on it and says, I looked at your x-rays. Yeah, no kidding. Then he says he'll need to straighten her bone by bending her wrist straight down. And then he says he'll apply a pin about 7 to 8 inches long down into her arm. And we're sitting there like, whoa, yeah, okay, that's pretty crazy, but okay, do what you gotta. And then he says, all right, take these forms down to the front desk and I'll be performing surgery in 4 hours. I'll see you then. And me and Kay look at each other, obviously both thinking, we get called in here for 9:30, you see us almost at 10:40 and tell us to come back in 4 hours. He says, I'm very sorry, I'm booked, I'll have to just see you then. Naturally frustrated, we go downstairs, we hand in the forms he told us to, and we think, what are we gonna do here? We don't know anybody in the city, we might as well just head back home for a couple hours and then come back. So we jump in the vehicle and I drive us all the way back home through that blizzardy, stormy, wintry, hellish weather. We get home, we dink around for a couple hours, she takes a little nap, I played some Minecraft, and then we decide to go back. So again, I drive all the way back to the city and we go back into the hospital. And then the second we walk in the hospital, the front desk clerk remembers us and says, hey, where have you two been? Naturally, we respond with, we went home because the doctor told us it would be 4 hours. And she says, we've been looking all over the hospital for you two. We've been waiting 4 hours to perform the surgery on Kay. And you can't even imagine our shock. So we explained that the doctor said the surgery wouldn't happen for 4 hours. And we went home because we had nothing else to do for 4 hours in this hospital. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Apparently the doctor screwed up and he actually was ready to perform surgery on us and nobody ended up finding out why he told us to come back in 4 hours. My explanation is that he's just a complete doofus. So anyway, Kay went in for her surgery. I had to wait about an hour. I didn't really do much. I paced around. I waited in the waiting room, which by the way was super busy. A couple times I had a really hard time even finding a seat to wait because there were so many people crammed into this tiny little waiting room. I actually got some footage of it. Take a look. busiest hospital I have ever been in, I swear. So after Kay was done, the nurses called me in to see her, and I go in the room and she's laying there and she's pretty loopy, and I find out that they actually did end up putting her under for the surgery, and they explained that they straightened out the bone, they put a pin in it, and they casted it. I was highly tempted to get some footage of Kay while she was in her loopy, unaware, confused state of coming out of her anesthetic state, but the nurses urged me to just take a picture then put my camera away because apparently it was prohibited or something. Here's the picture I got. So we had to wait for about 15 or 20 minutes while the drugs wore off, and after she was capable of saying an entire sentence without slurring and could stand on her 2 feet without almost falling over, we were allowed to go. So I packed her up, practically carried her out to the vehicle, and drove her home. And she slept every single minute of that ride home. When we got home, I settled in, did some tidying up, and then I filmed and posted my vlog, and that was my day. And now Kay's doctor has ordered her to be off work for 6 weeks, which means she's gonna be stuck at home with a broken arm, incapable of doing most of the things she does every day. And I have offered to do everything she is incapable of until her arm heals. Because that's what friends do. Hopefully, with her being home for the next 6 weeks, I'll finally be able to have her on my vlogs once in a while. Because ever since I started doing this, I've been really hoping that she would want to come on and do some of these with me, but she's always been so busy with work and friends and family. But now that her arm's broken and she happens to live with me, she's all mine. I mean that in the nicest way, okay? Anyway, humans, I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.